about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact, download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5 Frequencies of Contact.
Join your fellow starseeds, lightworkers, and experiencers at the 2024 Full Disclosure Now Conference, this July 15th to 18th. This conference will be a fun and positively life-changing experience for so many. In addition to 4 days and nights of presentations, there will be special event dinners, dancing, fun time on the beach, UFO night watch tours, film screenings, vendors, and more at the lovely Serrata Beach Resort on St. Pete Beach, Florida. Over 34 Montauk Project survivors, Secret Space Program whistleblowers, ET contactees, and psychic healers will be presenting in the name of the Full Disclosure Movement. The truth must be revealed if we're all to achieve our Star Trek future here and now. Get your event passes and book your stay now at fulldisclosuremovement.org.
Strand Podcast.
Guys, this is Mike Beavers from The Theory, and you are listening to Alien Strand Podcast, the dopest UFO alien podcast out there. And if you want to find out about me, just go on YouTube and search UFOs over U of O or The Theory with Mike Beavers. Stay tuned, guys.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Don Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Yeah. You know, we've been kind of staying super busy, man. I swear, it's like a non-stop thing with me. We try to get as much content out there as much as possible. But if you're new to ufology, well, welcome to ufology and welcome to Alien Strand Podcast. We've been around for, going on 6 years already. And, we love just telling stories and just kind of giving you the news and having a lot of guests on as we talk about ufology, Bigfoot, cryptids, all that good stuff that comes along with it. Even paranormal. Yes, we do paranormal. Now, if you guys are new to Alien Strand Podcast, we are out on 26 to 28 platforms of audio, right? So you can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, like you are live right now. You can find us Castbox, Google, Apple Podcasts, everywhere. And if you're listening right now, please stop for a second, click us a like, put a heart on there, save us to your favorites, and share our content. We also have a YouTube channel where we do post live podcast videos as well. Now, on that live podcast, we did have a guest on this last one, and she gave a lot of information on extraterrestrials and how to contact them as well, right? So we just had a lot of a great discussion, on her topics. Her name was Vivian, right? I think it's Vivian Charvet, right? So we had a good 45-minute conversation, right? It was called Signals, right? With meetings out there. And she says she's connected to the Arcturians, right? And she's an Arcturian, kind of spokesperson, right? So we were able to ask her a lot of questions out there about, the Arcturians, the race, what they're about, what they're from. And, we just got to plug away. And if you guys caught that live podcast, it was on that one before this one. All right. So be sure to go back, catch that podcast with her. And, we had a great conversation. She was very informative, taught, showed you how to communicate with these extraterrestrial beings that are all different kinds of Lyrians, Palladians, Arcturians, all kinds of the Greys even, and she talked about them too, of where they're from, how they're about, and which got me thinking into this deeper conversation, right, of extraterrestrials. Now, you guys know that I love extraterrestrials, right, and that's just, I've been doing this for such a while, right, and I hope you guys have been getting a lot of great information and how to put a lot of this stuff together yourselves, right? So we do have a group called Alien Strand Disclosure Project there on Facebook. Go follow us there, or go to our website, ASDP- that's the line, at UFO.com. Go check it out there, or go to our sister page, alienstrand.com. You can go there as well. That's actually our primary page, so it doesn't matter. It'll take you to both. They kind of switch back and forth, so go check that out. Now, if you guys don't know, we do have a live channel, right? It's a live web TV channel. So you can stream it across your phone or your tablets or your computer or your laptop, right? And it's called Skylight One, right? And so if you go to Skylight One, I'm going to post links to all of this after this podcast. You'll see it there. Skylight One there on Facebook. You'll see that it's going to say Web Live TV, right? So, and this is how that goes, right? And then we also have a video on demand page as well. So I have 3 channels, which is called Skylight One, which is nothing but UFOs and disclosure documentaries, right? And then we have Skylight 2, which is paranormal. I showed nothing but documentaries, movies of paranormal on that channel, so you'll check it out there as well. And then I just introduced another channel called Skylight Movie, right? So in this one, I'm actually putting films of independent filmmakers on there, and you can catch their movies these channels play 24/7, right? So anytime of the day, night, if you decide to wake up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and want to watch a little TV, go to our Skylight Web TV there and go catch some of those films that are on there. You can kind of switch around between each one. We do have a Skylight One channel as well on GoDaddy, so go check that out, and that'll just take you to all these that I'm telling you are the live web TV. All right, so you can watch 3 channels on live web TV. It's free. You can't beat that with a stick, man. So go check those out, and I really appreciate you guys for tuning into those. We're if you need anything, just give me a holler. You want to put your commercial on there, anything like that, just give me a holler or send me an instant message or my email. All right. And if you want to be on our guest on our show, you can still call us at 361-245-8000. Again, that's 361-245-8000. And, we'll get you as a guest on the show. You're an author, or you're an abductee, or a contactee. Anything like that has to do with, everything of the unknown, even paranormal. We'll even put you on as well. Right. So whichever one you want, audio, and we'll do video, or we can do both, right? And it's our pleasure to get as many people involved as possible, right? To these podcasts, right? Because it's an informative thing, and it gets you guys' minds going, and it just kind of gets you wondering about things that are happening out there in the UFO world, right? And today I called it CE5, and the protocols, right? Because there is certain protocols in order to make these things happen, right? As far as, connecting to these extraterrestrials and meditating and all that good stuff that comes along with it. And you're able to make contact, right, if you will. So there's a group out there on Facebook called ABQ, which is Albuquerque UFO, and they actually did a CE5 the other night, and they were able to make some sort of contact, right? I'm actually on their page. I posted some stuff there as well. Go check it out. Also have a book called CE5 Frequencies of Contact. You heard the commercial at the beginning. You'll hear it again at the end, just in case you forget. Just Google that, and you'll find it anywhere on any bookstore, okay? So, and that's it. It's a guidebook. It's a guidebook. So it's guiding you through the protocols of how to CE5 and how to connect with the extraterrestrials, right? And, there is, people just didn't make this up, right? About connecting or how to contact CE5s, these extraterrestrials with this thing called CE5, which Dr. Greer was able to put all that together, right? And he's the one that came up with the concept of CE5. Where did he get it from, right? And that's the question that a lot of people do have of these programs, because he was involved in a lot of secret programs, right? And he was able to help the government make contact with these extraterrestrials and even have an extraterrestrial visitation and meeting as a young man. So that's how he really got involved with the extraterrestrial movement, right? And what better way to do it is to, once you've made contact, right? Because I always tell everybody, once you've been contacted that way, or once you see something that you can't explain, you can't unsee it or undo it, right? You want to figure out how it works, what these things are, what they're about, and what do they want, right? And those are a lot of our questions to once we make contact. I'm talking about visual as well. You don't necessarily have to be standing there touching the spaceship. You can just be there, just in front of one, really. 100 feet, 200 feet, maybe even a mile away. But once it has made contact with you, in other words, like it'll flash some kind of a light, right, of some sort at you, even without using a laser pointer. You don't necessarily need a laser pointer. You can just use your flashlight on your phone and just kind of give it a couple of signals that I'm seeing you, and it'll react, right? But there's certain protocols to that as well, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But NASA did did have an actual report that they did back in the day, not probably in the late 90s, early 2000s, about life of other planets, right? That we are possibly not alone, right? So there's an actual an article that they wrote. And it was only for NASA, only for their use only, but they finally released it here, this past year. And, I'm just going to read a little bit to you of what they were thinking at the time, right? Of the communication. It's called Communication with Extraterrestrial Intelligence, right? And it says we're not alone in this universe. A few years ago, the notion seemed far-fetched that today the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence is taken for granted by the most scientists, right? Even that said, the National Academy of Sciences have gone on the record that contact with other civilizations is no longer something beyond our dreams, but a natural event of history of mankind that will perhaps occur in our lifetime of many of us, says Sir Bernard Lowell, right? He's the world's leading radio astronomers, right? He calculated that even allowing for a margin of an error of 5,000%, that there must be in our galaxy about 100 million stars which have planets of the right chemistry and dimensions and temperature and support organic evolution, right? If we consider that our own galaxy, the Milky Way, is but one of vast a billion other galaxies similar to ours observable in the universe, the number of stars that could support and some other life, right? To reach a word of astronomical, right? As to advanced forms of life, advanced by our own miserable Earth standards, says Dr. Frank Drake of the National Radio Astronomy Observation of Green Bank, right, of West Virginia. He stated that putting all of our knowledge together as a number of civilizations could arise in by now is about 1 billion. The next question is, where is everybody, right? And this is what I ask all the time. Where is everybody? And we have so many, UFO and UAP visual sightings and occurrences that take place all over the earth since the beginning of us recording these unnatural phenomena, which we call UFOs, right, or UAPs now. And so they're pretty much making an observable construct on it, right, of there is the possibility of life. Why not, right? Why not, right? So the nearest neighborhood to our solar system is Alpha Centauri, which is about 4.3 light years away, says Dr. Sushu Hang of National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It's a planetary system. It's probably too young for emergence of life. He says two other heavenly friends, Epsilon Eridani and 2 Centauri, are about 11 light years away, are stronger contenders for harboring life. So these are the two planets, possibly, right? Or these four. So it says, nevertheless, its superior civilizations are abundant. To the nearest would probably be at least 100 light years away. Therefore, it would take 200 years for a reply, right, to be forthcoming, a smaller of 7 generations. This should be, however, would make little difference to us in the view of an enormous potential gain from the contact with superior civilizations. Unless we are terribly coincided, a very unscientific demeanor, we must assume that we, others, are more far advanced than we are, right? And that's what we've been talking about for a long, long time. Even a 50-yard gap would be tremendous. A 500-year gap staggers the immigration as much as 5,000 years. By the way, there are much as 50 years behind us. It says, forget it. It's quite possible that others have satellites, probes in space, retransmitting to them anything that sounds non-random to the probe. But they have probably called the answer, and the worse yet, they have not given up. Or nor probably, they have reached such impressive technological advances that they have destroyed themselves. In this connection, says Professor Iaroslav Shlowinsky of Russia, greatest radio astronomer, he cited the profound crisis which in lie wait for the development of civilizations. Any one in which will prove fatal, right? So these are the some of the records that and the conclusions that they were talking about in NASA, right? This is a NASA article that they had for just office only. So they were already asking these questions, right? And they were, sending these signals out there. Remember when they sent that satellite up there and it had codes on it? It had pictures of men and women on there, of who we are, and just for these extraterrestrials to find them and know that, we know how to communicate, right? And this is our language, right? So, and we did that so that way they can try to communicate with us as much as possible, right? And how did they respond back? Now, we did have that wow signal that happened a while back. It's actually going to be one of my new books, and they did receive some kind of a spike signal that came, in a sound form, right, of a response. So something did respond back as they were sending these signals through space. They've been doing this since 1960. It was called Project Ozama, right? And it was listening at 1420.4055752 megacycles per second of a wavelength of 21 centimeters, right? So they were tight in that area, trying to listen in on exactly what was happening. And the only reason I'm bringing this point to you and why is because, we've been trying to communicate with something out there because we think that there is life out there, right? And we know there is because we see them every day in our skies, right? Where do these things come from? Or have they been here in our Earth's atmosphere for all this time? And yet we're still trying to prove or disprove that there are these extraterrestrials living amongst us and amongst our skies, right? And so why listen in outside, right? Outside of our solar system? Why? This is my my thoughts on this. Why go so far out of the solar system to try to make contact with these extraterrestrials to receive a signal when we already have them here on Earth, right? They're within our atmosphere. People are speaking to these things every day by sending these signals, and they use these laser pointers, and they do these CE5s, right? These are the signals, man. I mean, why have to spend so much money to find a civilization out there that we probably won't get a reply for 7 generations, right? We'll never know because we'll be long gone, which is us here today. It's going to take 7 generations before you possibly get a reply. It's a long time, man. Why not just get a reply now? And use what we have as we know, as Dr. Greer explained of the CE5 contact movement, right? And that's why I wrote that little guidebook to help you understand what CE5 is, where it came from. It gives you definitions, and it gives you, some steps of the protocols that you have to do for CE5 contact. And we've been trying to prove this point for a while now, right? To try to get to people to understand what the CE5 movement is and how to, right? If you're interested in doing this. Now, a lot of these comments that I'm saying that I talk about on my own, I always say these are my comments, these are my thoughts, because this is what I'm thinking. It's nothing that it's somebody else is out there putting on paper. A lot of these things are my thoughts because of what I see and what I've studied, right? And I'm giving you my hypothesis of what these things are when they are actually making contact with people because of my studies, right? And that's what makes these things a little different on to me, as far as trying to put the piece of the puzzle together, right? Or the 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 2, right? Kind of something like that, just we're trying to figure out this equation, and by using all different kinds of steps, we can figure this out, even the ones and zeros factor, right? So, and then how do we do this, right? Well, we do it with the basic steps of protocol, right? So the CE5 is an actual encounters of the 5th kind, right? Which is making human-initiated contact with non-human beings, and it's, in other words, before you do this, think about what you're going to do before you do it, right? So okay, I'm going to make contact. I'm going to do this today. Now, I don't know, maybe I should try. If you're not in it, don't even try it. But if you want to do it, put your mind to it and go do it, right? This is how it's pretty much, I'm telling you that this is the best way to do it. So you can use these protocols inside, outside, or even in a group. Most people like to do it in a group, which is great. You get more people involved and you get to record a lot of these things that are happening as they're happening, as other people are concentrating, right? So, and what you got to do is you got to have to locate a a good spot, right, that you want to be in, which is even if it's by yourself outside your home, make sure it's quiet, right? A nice spot for nighttime so you can view the sky, something that doesn't have anything obstructing the way like buildings or towers or things like that. That's why I highly recommend go out to the country or go out to maybe a state park or somewhere that you can spend the night or just be out there. Or even if you know a friend that has a ranch or maybe just a place out of the city that kind of you get away from the obstruction of the lighting, right? Because you got to remember, large cities, our lights are so bright of the city that it's got a haze. So you're not really getting to see the big picture of the sky. You ever notice when you go camping or you go out in places that's outside of the city that, you know, you get a better view of the sky, right? Because it's more clear. Nothing's obstructing. The light is not there getting in the way, right? So that's the best way to do it. You know, just go do that. You know, find yourself, you know, where there's an open place, where there's a great night sky. You know, this is the first step that you got to do, right? And find a good spot, nice open area, you know, where you feel, you know, kind of compelled, you know, where you say, okay, you know what? I feel like this is a good spot. Bam. Then you hit that spot. You sit there, you know, even if you got friends, you go in a circle, right? So, you know, and sometimes you have to kind of, when you're out there, just start staring at the sky. Think positive things, you know. Even if you had like dreams or things of extraterrestrials or just in that general area, you know, that'd probably be the best place to go. If you had a good vivid dream about a place where to do it, that'd probably be the best way to do it, right? And then when you get there, you sit there, you relax, and then you kind of get ready, right? Put all your phones down, clear your mind, and you kind of prepare yourself, right? As you're kind of your mind, you're clearing your mind of all your problems, your issues, everything like that. You're preparing for your meditation, right? So that's exactly what you're going to do. You know, you're going to make sure that you're comfortable. And if it's out there, you know, bring something to keep you warm because it might get cold. I know in New Mexico, I saw the pictures and they were wearing jackets and stuff because it still is pretty cold, pretty chilly out there. And I think it's in the 40s, I think, out there lately. You know, take a flashlight with you. You know, make sure when you're sitting in your chair, you're relaxed. That you're sitting straight, right? And you start meditating with your music, right? Close your eyes, clear your mind, right? And you know. And if you want to sing along with it, sing along with it. And if it makes you feel more comfortable at that point, and start playing like the CE5 kind of music. So go to your YouTube, go check out a lot of the music that they have out there, and then just start using some of that to help with the frequencies. I believe that 40 hertz is one of the lower tones that you can use that might be able to work as well. It's a low humming frequency, right? So that might help. But it is going to be audible for animals, so kind of leave the animals at home when you're doing this, or because you cannot have any distractions really if you're going to do this seriously. No distractions, no kids pulling at you, nobody talking to you. You just, once you start, even at a group session, you have to tell the whole group, hey, we're going to start. Shut everything down, put your phones down unless you have one cameraman or one person recording the data, right? So that's the only person that should have a phone in their hands at the time, if you're going to do this correctly. Because remember, you're contacting something that's possibly more pure than you are, and when you have those electronic gadgets in your hand, it's going to have some sort of interference, right? So remember, put your Bluetooth on the side or the music on the side away from you while you're doing this. And it'll have a better channeling to these extraterrestrials as you're doing it, right? Okay, so you start doing your meditations. You know, you get more. You know, you start stating what you want out of the meditation. You know, And, in other words, you kind of tell them, hey, I want a good being. I want something. I want, something. I want a white light, or, I'm not here to hurt you. You kind of repeat it 3 times, like she said it yesterday on our podcast, and just to make sure that you are getting a good entity, right? Or a good UFO out there, not something that wants to do bad or harm to you. You can say it out loudly as well, when you're stating your intentions, right? Use like words like love, peace, happiness, things like that, in order to kind of keep you in that right state of mind, and keep yourself focused when you're trying to do these CE5s. Now, also, you have to, like I said, your intentions, they have to be peaceful, right? And show them that it's friendship that you're trying to do. You just want to connect. You want them to be there with your consciousness. Open-mindedness. Do those kind of things while you're meditating, right? In other words, have a positive influence on these things that you're trying to contact, right? A lot of times these things will have some kind of, if you have any kind of negative intent or negative thoughts that are going through your mind, it will reflect on the intentions that you're trying to do, right, to these and these extraterrestrials. Because if you think about it, right, just think about this just for a minute. So if you watch these videos, right, of these people doing these extraterrestrial CE5s, they'll point their laser up there, or they'll ask it, can you flash at me? Without pointing a laser, they'll just say, can you flash one time? It'll flash, right? Or can you do this? Or can you move to the left? And it'll move to the left. Now, have you noticed when you do that, this thing's up in the sky, far away, and it can't hear you. But it is connected with you, right? You're actually connected with that pilot inside that ship. So remember, the focus of your outcome is the outcome that you will get in return, right? So just kind of think about it that way when you're trying to do these CE5s, right? And just make sure that you're calm. Don't get scared. I know it's exciting. It could possibly be exciting. At the same time, be sure to have somebody, if a ship goes over or a craft or something, have somebody video the whole thing, right? You don't worry about your phone and videoing. You're going to get the video from them, right? So that's why I say put your videos down, stay concentrated, let one person do the filming and everything that you have to in these CE5 groups. Unless you're alone. If you're alone, do what you may, right? And, if you can, if you have enough time, pick up your phone and start filming. Right? As you're scanning the skies, just remember, be open to the almost like the telepathic kind of communication that they're going to have with these things, right? Because this is exactly how they're going to communicate with you. And as you're communicating with these things, if one was to appear in front of you, be sure to write everything down. This is the data. I'm talking times, dates, seconds, what it did, exactly what it did, who was with you, who was watching, witnesses, names, things like that, because all this needs to be documented as data. It's very important about the times, right? Because it could be to where these CE5s are more proactive or more active during a certain time of the evening, right? Or a certain time of the night, right? They're even, you can even see these during the day, but I don't know who wants to be in that hot sun when this is happening, right? That's why most people do it at night, where it's more comfortable. Now, like I said, be sure to journal, write these things down the best way you can, and because we're all out here trying to get the exact same, the exact same thing as far as the answers that we're looking for. A lot of times it might not be that answer, and if you do see one, take as much data and physical evidence as much as possible. If you are part of CE5 group, post it out there, let people know, because people need to know that, like I talked about before, the NASA journals and the NASA stuff that they had on there, that they were talking about signaling these things, and then we weren't able to get a response for 7 generations, right? So you're actually getting a response right here and then of something that's not human, right? Non-human. So just remember that, you even after you've made contact, you might have an awakening, right? I call it the awakening. Something happens inside of your consciousness where you awaken, and then you're able to see things differently as you see them now. In other words, you're more open to different concepts of science, of education, of things that are happening around you, to where you weren't thinking about the impurity or their impure thoughts. Now you have more of a positive concept, a more open mind of consciousness, right? If you will, right? And this is what happens to people around you. I've seen it already. I've seen it happen in front of me personally, right? So, and after doing CE5 Protocol, something happens to people. Now, after you do this, it's recommended not to really have heavy meals, right? Heavy foods. Drink a lot of water, juices, things that are maybe some vegetables. Try not to eat too much fast food stuff after you've experienced this stuff. Only reason I'm telling you, because there's a lot of things in our foods now that kind of are blocking your, let's just say, your consciousness, your third eye, in a way, right? So there's too many preservatives that do that, right? And so it wants you to make sure, and I want you to make sure that your mind and your thoughts are pure, right? So keep that purity for a while, because if you want to do it the next day, let's just say you have a 3-day camping trip and you all guys want to do it for 3 days, don't eat like an animal for that night and then keep on, going to McDonald's and Denny's and all those places. No, don't do that. Just, sandwich, it's fine. Something light, some water, keep it just kind of simple, right? For those 3 days. And then you can wait the 3rd day, and then you can go ahead and go for a buffet. But I mean, and this kind of helps you and keep your consciousness into that open state of mind, right? Why do you think monks do that? Buddha monks, man, they're up on these mountains. They won't eat for days, weeks. They fast, right? Because this is how they connect with the universe, man. And it's not like you're making yourself starve to death to where you're not able to see where you're able to see these different things because you're hallucinating. No, not because your body's starving, because you can actually fast for 7 days. Just drink water, I've done it before. And what it does is your body does a rejuvenation of its own. It's kind of crazy how that happens, but it does. You can go 3 days, you can do a 2 day. A lot of actual athletes do it. Professional athletes, they'll fast for like 3 days, and they'll keep working out, drink water, and work out. And they say that their thinking is more clear. They can think better. This is where this is coming from, right? So if you go look it up, you can go look it up anywhere, how fasting does help, right? And it would help you connect better if you're really into CE5 connections, right? So that's probably the best way to overall open up your chakra, right? Like they say, or your aura and your vibration and everything, right? I used to think back in the day, and I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I'm here. You know who I am? I'm this guy that tells it like it is. So I've been telling it like it is for the past 6 years. I'm that guy, right? So, and the reason I do that is because I feel that everybody has a right to know, and to know the truth and the way it is, right? Even if your thinking might be a different way, that's fine. That's okay. We can both agree to disagree sometimes, right? I don't have a problem with that. But I'm that guy, right? Now getting back to what I was saying, that I used to be the guy that ask me this 20 years ago, about chakras, third eyes, auras, or, and all that stuff, meditation. I used to kind of not really think about it, but when I did, my thought process was kind of like, I don't know about that, right? That was my thinking, right? Until I started having my awakening moment, right? And once that happened to me, call it what you will, right? Call it God, call it anything you want, whatever awakens you, your spirit inside, awakens your consciousness, that's fine. You do it what you want, whatever you want to call it. But when that happened to me, I was able to see the light, right? I saw exactly, how these things communicate. And this is the best way that they communicate, through these CE5 protocols, right? Which tell me that a lot of these things that are above our skylines, not all of them, but a lot of them are friendly, right? They're just watchers. They're there to monitor. They're there to make sure that we don't kill ourselves or blow this planet up, because this is all we have, man. This is all we have. And this is why I always show a lot of people, I give a lot of my friends, people that are in my groups, I give them a lot of love and peace, because, we all live in this world together. We might as well live in peace, right? And with that happier train of thought, that happier thought process, right? You're able to connect with these extraterrestrials. I don't know if you noticed this, but you ever heard of an angry person or a mean, awful person say, I see UFOs? Nah, rare. So these beings, and I've had stories of the past that I've talked about how they pick their people to, when they land, and talk to them, whether they're these extraterrestrial grays or these Andromedan kind of looking, or these people, right? Palladians, right? They blonde hair, blue eyes, they look human almost, right? They go land and they take these people for a ride on the ship, and they tell them, hey, I chose you because we can feel you from where we are. We knew you were a kind soul, right? Or a kind person that would understand us. They're not going to pick a person that's mean or awful intentions. So just kind of think about that as I'm explaining to these CE5 protocols that, we're not full of crap. This is the way it is. If you want to contact, right? This is why I have the CE5 Frequencies of Contact guidebook. It's out there on Amazon. You can put it on your tablet or whatever you want. You don't have to, but it's there. And I did this because that way you can understand ufology a little bit better, and you're able to comprehend it and embrace it of what it actually is, right? There's some things that are not so bad that it will scare you, but then there are other creatures or beings out there that are there to scare you, okay? So there's a difference between them both. Just remember what you're doing. And after you finish making contact, if you do, you might not have success the first time, but if you do make contact, tell them thank you. We'll see you again. Things like that, right? Goodbye. Thank you. So that way they know you're done at that point, right? And you will probably see them more and more after that, because they know they've connected to somebody that's has good intentions, right? And connections. So these are the signals, the connections that I talked about through NASA, and what Vivian and I spoke about on the last podcast, right? On the connections and the intentions, and how do you know? And I asked her the question: how do you know if you're connecting with the bad one? What do you do? And she explains it, right? So the questions that I asked were these questions that a lot of my guests appreciate, because I think outside of the box, right? These are where my questionings come in. Because why? I think outside of the box for you, right? Because I know that you probably have these same questions as well. And this is why I do what I do when I have guests on. I don't put them on a spot. I don't do anything awful to anybody out there. So, and they do understand that. They are very appreciative of my questioning. I don't know if you hear it. Every time I ask a question, they're always telling me, that's a great question. What a great question that is. You know, because I have different ways of asking, and that's just me personally. But because I want to know, because my thought process is outside of the box. I have had my awakening moment, as you should all have that awakening moment as well. And using these CE5 protocols will possibly help you in that awakening moment. And I hope you continue to push yourself to more CE5 protocols, or focusing on positive things in your life, and maybe, just maybe, things will adjust in your life and will get better and will help you be a better contactee, right? And then you can show the people how to do it. You can explain to them where you heard it from, right? Where you hear it from? Alien Strand Podcast, right? That's exactly where you heard it. Where did you read it from? CE5 Frequencies of Contact. That's where I read it. You need to get that guidebook. You know, this is what you tell people, because this is what's going to help these folks understand the concept of CE5 and connection with these extraterrestrial entities. Well, that's my podcast for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast as much as I did. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for listening to today's show. We are live right now on Spreaker. But after this, you're going to catch it on Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox. You can even ask Alexa. She'll play you some Alien Strand podcast. She'll keep you up to date. Now, if you want to, go to alienstrand.com. Alienstrand.com. You'll see our podcast there. You'll see our podcast on our ASDPUFO-com. You will see it there. You'll see our podcast on YouTube, the audio and video. So don't forget, Skylight 1. Go check us out there on Facebook. Go to our free web TV. Go check out those channels. Go look at all those interesting documentaries, man. There's a lot of stuff that I've never seen before that I put up on these channels. So they're programmed for the whole week. Go check them out. Different content all week long. Thank you guys for listening to Alien Strand Podcast. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you got a lot out of this, as much as I did, because I always learn something new as we go, right? So, as up to you guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this podcast, share it on your YouTube as well. Hit us a like, subscribe. Don't forget, the middle is still on there for free. Still on there for free. And it's on Skylight 1, all right? Web TV for free there too. So it's showing there as well. Go check it out. Skylight Movies. Go check it out there. You can't beat it. Skylight Paranormal. We have all those channels. You got to go see it. All right, guys. Until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
CE5 and extraterrestrial contact. Download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5 Frequencies of Contact.